Somebody wins, somebody dies, somebody dies.
Welcome, folks. We're gonna turn down the somebody wins, somebody dies. Just want you to know that that's going to be playing in the background throughout the duration of this video. We're going to be doing a story as told by the publisher. This story is called NESSEE. NESSEE is, well, NESSEE is a very unique young lady. And in NESSEE, again in the background, somebody wins, somebody dies, for that's the way life goes. Somebody wins, somebody dies, for that's the way life goes. That plays throughout the entire story. So just prepare yourselves. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more because I know the song. I just want you all to know that that's how this was written and designed. Now, we gon' tells this story. Now, I can't do all the voices because, there's Keith, Mark, Johnny, Serena, and Dora, and those people are real individuals. Serena and Dora, my sisters. Keith, me. Mark, good friend. Still a friend. Johnny, Mark, Johnny, best friends growing up. NESSEE is the name of my eldest sister. Only the personalities are real. Everything else is 100% fiction. But you'll see the story in just a moment. Alright, I'm going to do the narrating and the voices and the characters all at once. So, for me that's boring, but gonna do it anyway. So without any further ado, I shall continue. Keith, Mark, Serena, Johnny, and Dora all meet at VR1 Lights. VR1 is virtual reality. It's how would you say? It's like a dance hall, but a very unique one, where the dancers, actors appear on screen in a virtual reality atmosphere. It'll explain it in the show. It's a town social center. They meet at an all-you-can-eat restaurant called Cedric's. Cedric is actually real too. Alright? Which is packed. And yes, the conversations that you're going to hear between Keith, Serena, Mark, Jay, Johnny, and Dora, those are all conversations that would have taken place with each of them had that conversation had taken place. However, the situations in the story are 100% fictional. They do not pertain to the individuals. But Keith and Serena pull into the parking lot, and he says, "You guys always eat here." Serena says, "Keith, we always eat here." Keith says, "That's what I mean. We never go anyplace else. Plus, this place costs too much." And Serena says, "Look, it's only $4. You make more than that in 15 seconds. So stop being so cheap and quit complaining. You're the one that's beginning to sound like a woman. And you say we always nag and complain. Look," steps out of the car, "Oprah, just get out of the car and let's go. I may even eat something this time." Serena says, "You always eat something. That's why you didn't eat dinner last night." As they walk to the door, "Breakfast or lunch today?" sarcastically. "I gotta get my money's worth. And when you get inside, you better leave Cedric alone." "Leave him alone? I never bother him." "You never bother him. You always talk about him. And you know how shy he is. And what about last week when you announced to everyone that he was a 32-year-old virgin?" "Well, hey, I was just playing." "But he is." He says that underneath his breath. And she says, "I heard that, and who cares if it's true? You did not have to tell the 95 people who were there and embarrass him like that. Look, if it'll make you happy, I'll apologize. Yes, it'll make me happy. Okay, but sometimes it's hard to tell if you're my sister or my mother." And she says, "You just don't worry about that." Sorry, she really would have said that. Keith, as they enter into the long line, This line is always like this. Sees it opening and he thinks he can sneak in because he thinks people aren't looking. And Johnny says, "Hey Keith, the line? Well, the place where you belong is way," and he points backwards, "back there." And Keith says, "Jay, why'd you have to say something?" Jay says, "Because remember, you have to always do what is right." Now, I gotta stop there for just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, Jay, Keith, Mark, friends, and these were the conversations that they would have because all three were Jehovah's Witnesses. And so they watched each other's back. So yes, Jay literally would have said that, and Keith literally would have said that. So Keith says, "I was doing what was right. I was going right in line." Jay says, "You know what I mean." Get rid of that for y'all. Keith says, "Anyway, where'd you guys go last night?" Jay says, "Me and Mark, we went over to Willie's. Though we didn't stay. You know, that's not our group. It's not the group for us." Keith says, "What do you mean?" Jay says, "Well, you know, we don't fit in their little circle. We don't try to show off. Well, at least me and Mark don't anyway." Keith says, "Hey, watch it. I'm not a show off. I am the show." Jay says, "See? You see it?" Joking. "It does sound better when you say it." Keith said, "That's because I speak the truth." And all the people near him in line, they all move away. And Keith says, "Oh, and what was that for?" And Serena says, "They don't want to get hit by lightning." Ha ha, very funny. We go to the next scene, scene 1, act 2, inside the restaurant. Keith goes around to all the tables, speaking to all the people that he knows, and he decides to start to prepare a plate for himself. But just before he does this, he makes an announcement. "Hey everyone, may I have your attention? Thank you. Last week I said something about Cedric that I believe was taken the wrong way. I said that Cedric was a virgin. I was wrong for doing so. So now in front of all of you, I formally apologize. You see, he's a good friend of mine, and he knows I mean him no harm." Turn towards Cedric. I was wrong. I mean, I should never have said that. What I should have said is he still is." I'm sorry. He laughs uncontrollably. You know? "No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hey, you forgive me, man?" And Cedric says, "Keith, I forgive you. Why, now that can't, excuse me, well, I know you can't help yourself. Why, it must take a great deal of strength for you to do that all day long." And Keith says, "Do what?" Cedric says, along with Mark, Serena, and Jay, "Carry around that big head of yours," and the whole restaurant starts laughing as it is heard on the PA system. And Keith and Cedric embrace, and Keith says, "Good one, bruh. Good one. We're even. Now I'm gonna go and poison myself. Oh, I mean, go and eat." And he goes off to the dessert section. And he says to Cedric, "Hey man, how much of this can I eat?" Pointing to the cakes and all the other desserts. Cedric says, "As much as you want." Keith piles on 4 different pieces of cake on his plate and asks, "What, no ice cream?" And Cedric gives him a look. "I need to sit, right?" Points to a chair. "I won't sit there. I'll let you sit at the end." Mark says, "So what's been going on? And why are you not sitting over there with everyone else?" Keith says, "Man, you know, you're my boy. And those, well, let's just say I need a change. I've got a lot on my mind." Mark says, "A lot? Like what?" Keith says, "Well, hey, let me get a fork. No, a spoon, and I'll explain." He walks into the kitchen, looks at Cedric, and asks, "Can I get a teaspoon?" And jokingly, Cedric pulls out a large ladle spoon, and Keith says, "Man, you know what I mean," and Cedric hands him a teaspoon. Keith says, thanks, man. Oh, I mean, almost, man. And anyway, Mark says, hey, man, why you keep teasing him? And Keith says, because it's fun. But he knows I'm playing around. And Mark says, I don't think that's the way people should play. In fact, it's not the way a Christian should act. Keith says, you know, I never had it brought, or excuse me, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, because these people don't know that Cedric and I are good friends, and that I'm part owner of this place. Mark says, hey, are you going to pay and go to BR? Keith says, yeah, too bad you have to go to work. Why don't you get a day job like everyone else? Mark says, because I'm not like everyone else. I'm not looking to be like everyone else. And Serena's just walking up. She says, hey, Mark. Mark says, hey, sis. Serena says, how come I haven't seen you for a while? Mark says, because I've been working a lot of overtime and all, but my hours after next week will be better. He says, why after next week? Because my supervisor is on vacation and he will be back. And I won't have to do too much sales. Serena says, but I thought you were the supervisor. Mark says, no, I'm the shop's foreman. But while he's gone, I've been both supervisor and foreman. Serena says, oh well, Keith, everybody's getting ready to go across the street to VR. And they wanted to know if you were going to, what were you going to do? Keith says, this, stands up and says, on behalf of my friend and business partner, Cedric, and because I embarrassed him in front of all of you, all of your meals are on me. Walks over to Cedric. Man, I'm really sorry. Well, I meant you no harm. And Cedric says, yeah, I never said. He says, no, none of the guests knew. So take my card and charge all of their meals to me as a gesture of your kindness to the customers. Serena says, Keith. Keith says, yeah, it's time to go. Keith says, okay, everybody. Still speaking to those who are dining. Enjoy your meals and may God protect all of you as you go to your various homes. Now, I do need to say right now so that you get it. This is not about anybody's Christians or anybody's religion. This is just the personality of those individuals at this point. It will be changing now. They're at VR and there's a songstress there. And she has a very wonderful voice. At this place, VR, both men and women sing, and they appear on somewhat a cross between the anime and virtual reality settings on a widescreen. And behind the scene is NESSEE, and she catches Keith's attention. And he goes, hey, let's stop at this one. Yeah. Man, that's not bad. He sees the changing of the hairstyle from red to blue, and he says, hey, look, I know who she's doing. She's doing Lucy. She's making impressions of Lucille Ball, but that song, hey, I like that beat. She's singing somebody wins, somebody dies, for that's the way life goes. And that's her act. There's a gentleman standing outside. His name is Sammy. Well, when I say standing outside, they're not outside. They're actually inside the facility, but outside the screen. And Sammy says, hey, I like that so much. Why, she is good. I believe talent like this needs to be advertised. Man, I would take someone like this and treat them like a queen. She just stops my heart. NESSEE walks up and says, hey, Sammy. Sammy says, how's my star diamond doing? NESSEE says, you know me, on top of the world. And look, and looking, she looks at Keith. I've not seen you before. How did you like the show? Keith says, who, me? NESSEE says as she smiles, why, yes, you. Keith says, well, first, your show was very unusual. NESSEE says, I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or... Keith, captured by her smile, says, "No, your show was great. I mean, that song and that beat was, why, I liked it very much." Serena says, "Hey, take the compliment. He doesn't give them that often." "Hi, I'm Serena, and this is my brother Keith." Niecy says, "Oh, your brother. Well, nice to meet you both, the both of you. I'm on my way to Torselli's, and I know the owner. Why don't you all join me as my guests?" Keith says, "Well, I've got nothing better to do." And Niecy says, "Well, then stay here." Keith says, "No, I meant that." And Niecy says, "I know what you meant. I'm only playing." Serena says, "See? It's not fun when someone else does it to you. You guys are to get along perfect." Niecy says, "Hey, Sammy, will you be there?" Sammy says, "As always, you know me." Niecy says, "Okay, and thanks, Sammy, for all your support." And Sammy says, "Anything for you. You know how I feel." Niecy says, "Yes, but..." And Sammy says, "I know, but it can't hurt to dream." Niecy says, "Thanks, Sammy. Okay, I'll see you there, okay?" "All right, you guys ready?" Keith says, "Yes, but how far is this place?" "2 blocks from here." "What, you've never been to Torselli's?" Keith says, "No, I don't get around this way much." And Serena says, "Keith, I'm gonna go with Jay and Dennis. I will get them to take me home, and I'm not gonna let the kids drive Mama home." Keith says, "Okay, Jay knows." Serena says, "Yeah, I already spoke to him." Speaking in Niecy, "It was really nice meeting you, and take good care of my brother. He's really a special person and my best friend." Niecy says, "I assure you he's in good hands." Act 1, Scene 4. At Torselli's. I'm... It's actually Tischeroli's, but so that I don't mix it up, I'm just going to say Torselli's from now on, okay? Won't be too many more time, but Tischeroli's is a name I created. It says that Niecy goes to the lounge section in the back of the restaurant and dance club, and Keith realizes that he knows just about half the people there. So Keith says, "Excuse me," and he's saying this to Endor. "Hey!" Surprise. "What? You here?" Oh, the world must really be coming to an end. Endor is his sister. And Keith says, "No, I'm here with this young lady named Niecy." And Endor says, "You're dating too?" Keith says, "Stop it." And Endor says, "Niecy, you might..." And Keith said, "What?" And Dora says, "You will just have to find out for yourself." And Keith says, "Yeah, you know how I feel about gossip. Well, I'll see all of you later. I'm gonna go and find Niecy." Moments later, he sees Niecy sitting at the dining table with 3 friends. "There you are." Niecy says, "Hey guys, this is Keith." And Keith says, "Hey Dre, Jerome, Keita." Keita says, "What, you guys are dating or something?" And Niecy says, "No, we just met tonight, and so far he's proved to be a really nice guy." And Jay says, Jerome, "Oh, he's alright at times." And Keith says, "Stop that." And the rest of them start laughing. Niecy says, "Well guys, Keith and I are going to go over there and talk. We'll see you all later." And they move over to another table, and Keith pulls out her chair, and they start to order their drinks. And Niecy says, "I will have a gin and ginger sunrise." And Keith says, "I'll have a Coke, and bring me a bowl of ice cream." Niecy says, "Don't tell me you don't drink." And Keith says, "Okay, but if I don't tell you, how would you find out?" Niecy says, "Oh, sarcasm. Oh, I like that. Okay, change my order and bring me the same." The waiter leaves. Niecy says, "Tell me a little bit about yourself." Keith says, "Where do you suppose I start?" Niecy says, "Oh, I don't know. How about, what do you do for a living?" Keith says, "I really don't do much. I'm part owner of Cedric's." Niecy says, "The restaurant?" Keith says, "Yeah, but I'm more of a silent partner. I make sure the books balance and whatever is needed is there. But that's not important. The important thing is I try to help people whenever I can. I volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm part of the beautification committee. Sorry, I'm downloading a program. That's the bragging side of me. Now for the reality side. He takes her hand. I care. That's who I am. I'm the person who cares when no one else does. I'll pick up that piece of trash lying on the ground. I'm the one who buys paint and covers over graffiti on the wall. I'm the one who will speak up when someone else does not have the courage to do so because of what life has done. I am the one who will open that car door for a lady, or who would send orchids on a rainy day. Look, I'll explain better like this. When you feel no one else cares, when you look around and need a shoulder to cry on, I'll be there. When your day's sun refuses to shine, lean on me. I'll be the umbrella, your peace of mind. When your smile has taken leave, I'll go and track it down so you can breathe. When you feel you can't exhale, when on life's road you've lost the trail, when time seems to linger on, when hopes seem all but gone, when you look up and you see a star missing in your sky, worry not, for I found it. It's in the beauty of your eyes. I can't speak and boast of myself, for my pride would absorb all the time we have left. But you see, my hope is to help people, to help you realize, in the search of my life, I found my prize. NESSEE says, well, Keith says, that's who I really am. NESSEE's got tears in her eyes. That, oh, did you just make that up? Keith says, yes, just for you. You can't be this. There's gotta be something wrong. You sound too good to be true. I bet your girlfriend feels that she's so blessed. Keith says, what you've heard is the truth. And no, I do not have a girlfriend. You see, I'm very picky. And well, most do not even come close. NESSEE says, well, why did you say those things to me? You really don't even know me. Keith said, you heard of first impressions? NESSEE says, yes. There you have it. When I saw you at VR, I saw you for what you are. As you're no different now than you were then. You see, you have not tried to put on a front, but you were yourself. It's really hard and difficult to meet someone that's so real, with no hidden tricks or baggage. NESSEE says, but there are some things about me you don't even know about. He said, that doesn't matter. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go and get my mother. I promised I would take her home from my aunt's house tonight. Looking at his watch. It's almost 10. Look, I'll take care of the bill, and if you want, I'll take you home. Drive you to your home. NESSEE says, will I see you again? Keith says, here's my home, my cell phone, my pager, my work, and my mother's numbers. What do you think? And NESSEE says, well, don't you want my number? He says, of course I do. He says, I could leave it on your voicemail, and I don't need a ride home. I'll call and get the owner to take me. He's my half-brother. But thank you very much for the offer, and you had better get going or you'll be late picking up your mother. He says, nah, she'll be disappointed, and I don't want to disappoint her. I will see you tomorrow? And he says, yes, that will be perfect. I get off work at 7:30. Keith says, tomorrow? It is, my chérie amour. And he says, bye, Keith. He waves goodbye to Sandra as Sandra walks up and sits at a table and joined by Mary and Flo. Sandra says, well, whose was that? And Flo says, you've been holding out on us. Where'd you been keeping him? And Sandra says, shh, shh. I want to know all the details. NESSEE says, I just met him tonight. And well, he's not like anyone I know. He's kind, he's sweet, romantic, and he's very down to earth. Mary says, he's a Bible boy. Flo says, you know him? Mary says, yeah, that's Endora's brother. Y'all remember him. He was the one always picking her up from the police station. He drove us home that one night. That's him? Yep. But he was just a boy. Well, that boy is now 26 years old, and I asked Endora about him when he came in. Niecy said, what's wrong with him being a Bible boy? Mary says, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong, she says. Well, first of all, you know that religion and your night job is not gonna mix well. And what about Henrik? And he says, what about Henrik? I was thinking of quitting anyway. Flo says, quitting VR? And he says, no, quitting my evening job. Sandra says in disbelief, quitting? What about your bills? VR don't pay you enough. And what about the money you owe Henrik? You will never be able to pay him back if you stop tricking. And he says, look, Keith really likes me for who I am. And, well, I know I really would be doing a foolish thing if I let him get away. Sandra says, does he know about your evening job? And he says, no, we never got around to that. But Mary says, what do you mean, but? But is right, your butt, if you don't pay Henrik back. Plus, Endora says, Keith, he won't let your relationship go too far. Which means, once you tell him about your past, well, you'll be all alone. Niecy says, as she stands up, he's not like that. You guys are wrong. You'll see. And she storms off. And Sandra says, y'all wait here. I'm gonna go over there and see if I can talk some sense into that heifer. Niecy, wait up! Girl, you hear me calling you. Slow down so I can catch up. Act 2, Scene 1, at Niecy's duplex. Sandra says, girl, think about what you're saying. You know what he will do to you. Girl, he's our man. And we can't just make up our minds and start saying no. He won't let us. Niecy says, I won't. No, I want a life. I don't want to live like this anymore. Sandra says, girl, live like what? You got money, you got a home, you got clothes, you don't have any worries. What else is there? Niecy says, that's just it. That's not normal. I should be worried about something. Maybe I should be worried about money, or about rent, or light bill, or gas bill, or phone bill. Maybe I should be normal. Sandra says, what's normal, huh? What is it you think normal is? High bills, not having enough to eat, a place to stay, or clothes to wear? You don't want to go there. I've been there. And a person would have to be crazy to want to live a life like that. No, I'll tell you what is. It's that Keith, isn't it? Niecy says, what are you talking about? Sandra says, you know what I'm talking about. You really thinks he wants you. Girl, wake up. Keith's a square. And he would not even know what to do with a woman like you. Let alone. Nah. But, does he even know about all of this? Niecy says, about what? Sandra says, about how you spend your evenings. She remains silent. He doesn't, does he? You haven't told him. Turns in disbelief. And you were looking at a future with this man? Are you crazy? You really think he'll be around after? That's it. You were not gonna tell him. Girl, he's bound to find out. Niecy says, he will, but I'll tell him. Sandra says, when? When you have the nerve? Girl, this is me you're talking to. Niecy says, I don't want to talk about it. Sandra says, you don't want to talk about it. Girl, you don't have a choice. Niecy runs off and the house. And then she sees Hendrik driving up as she's shutting the door. And NESSEE says, I said no! And she slams the door. Hendrik says, hey, what's happening, Sandra? How come you're not making my money? Why aren't you at your corner? Sandra says, well, you know, Hendrik, Hendrik says, what? He gets out of the car and he walks over around where she's standing. What? 'Cause I don't know. What is this I heard about NESSEE? Huh? She's talking about quitting? Sandra says, no, Hendrik, she moves back suddenly because she thinks he's about to hit her. And Hendrik says, girl, don't jump from me. Grabs her body arm. Come here. And he says, if she says quits, I'll take it out on you. You brought that heifer to me, and I don't know why I let her live this long. But I will kill you and then her. You think I'm not serious? And he pulls out his gun. I will take your worthless life right now. Sandra is frightened. And she says, no, Hendrik. Hendrik, she's not gonna quit. I'm gonna go to her house and bring her to work right now. He lets her loose, and Hendrik says, you better make sure she works this evening, or, well, you know what I'll do. Fades to black. So Sandra goes back over to the front door of NESSEE's house, and it is a very windy and gusty night, and the leaves are blowing across the ground. And as this is going on, you can hear somebody wins, somebody dies. That's the way life goes, very softly. And Sandra says, NESSEE, girl, I need to talk to you. NESSEE, girl. And NESSEE locks the front door, and Sandra runs around the back to the side door, and NESSEE runs through the house to the side door and locks it while Sandra keeps yelling out to her, girl, I need to talk to you. NESSEE says, no, I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear it. And she's crying, and Sandra's banging on the door. Girl, I need to talk to you. This is serious, girl. And NESSEE says, I don't care. And Sandra says, girl, unlock this door now. NESSEE says, no. And Sandra says, you gon' unlock this door. Sandra runs around to the side of the house and runs up the step leading to the upper level side door. She looks around. She fears somebody's watching her. Girl, you're gonna talk to me. I'm not. And she's mumbling to herself, gonna lose my life because of you. She unlocks the door with her spare key, and she says, NESSEE, this is serious. I need to talk to you now. I'm not kidding. NESSEE says, I'm not changing my mind. No more. Sandra says, Hendrik. NESSEE says, I don't care about him or what he says. Sandra says, look, he says he'll kill me if you quit. He didn't say that. He did. And I'm not kidding with you, child. You don't know him like I do. He's not playing around. You heard of what he did to Chocolate. She didn't even have a face after he was finished with her. NESSEE says, that don't scare me. I don't care. Sandra says, girl, this is me. It's my life. I know this man, and he's not gonna let you walk away. He will kill me just to prove a point. And I don't mean nothing to him, but you, I have always been there for you. You needed anything, I did it for you. Why are you doing me like this, huh? What did I do to you? NESSEE hugs Sandra and she says, Sandra, it's not you. It's me. I want more out of life. Sandra pulls away. Pay him back first. NESSEE says, I have paid him back 3 times over. I'm tired of paying him. The way he is, I'll be paying him back for the rest of my life. No! And Sandra says, girl, don't you understand? He will kill me and you. He will cut up our bodies so bad. I don't even want to think about it. NESSEE says, look, for you, Sandra, I'll think about it. But you must understand, I'm not afraid of him. Sandra says, but I am. And if you're gonna think about it, I guess that's a start. You rethink all of this, please, for me? NESSEE says, okay. They hug, and they walk to the front door. He says, okay, now you sure you have enough clothes on? I mean, it's cold and windy outside. Sandra says, girl, you know me. Enough fire to spark a fire on ice. They don't call me Melton Sunday for nothing. They both hug as Sandra leaves. Sandra walks down the street, very breezy night. It appears she's being followed. She is frightened. Sandra says, who's that? She starts laughing. Is that you, Mary? Huh? Hey, who's there? No answer. So she starts walking faster. Leave me alone. And she's suddenly grabbed from behind, and it's Henry. Oh, it's you, Henry. But I thought I was being followed. I'm so glad it's you. You'll be glad to know that I talked to NESSEE and... Henrik says, forget about her. How come you ain't made me no money, huh? Well, I had to go make sure NESSEE was gonna come back to work. You did that on your own time. You're on my time. So you mean to tell me you ain't made me no money, huh? What did I tell you I would do to you? Sandra says, Henrik, I'm going to work right now. Slaps her in the face. But Henrik, honey, Daddy, you know I can pull 8 tricks before done. Henrik says, too late. Sandra says, but Daddy. Henrik, as he pulls out his gun, you? Sandra, scared. Baby? Love, Daddy. I won't never do it again. Henrik puts on his silencer. Yeah, baby. I know you won't do it no more. And Sandra says, baby, you're just kidding, huh? You're just trying to scare me, huh? And Henrik puts the gun down. Yeah, baby. Sure. You won't disappoint me again? Sandra says, yeah, I've learned my lesson, honey. I'm gonna go right now and make twice as much. Henrik says, baby, you go and get Daddy's money. Sandra's walking away cautiously and backwards, smiling. Oh, okay, Daddy. I'm gonna go and get your money. I promise. I won't let it happen again. And as she's walking backwards, Henrik raises up his gun and he points it at her and he shoots 5 times. I know you won't do it no more. NESSEE gets the news the following morning from Mary that Sandra is dead. They're at NESSEE's home, and Mary is on her way to work. NESSEE is singing in the house to herself, and Mary knocks on the door. NESSEE goes to the door and opens the door. Hey, Mary, good morning. The sky is blue. I'm feeling good. But Mary has a depressed look on her face, and NESSEE says, what's wrong, girl? Mary's crying. It's NESSEE. What's wrong? What happened? And Mary's crying. Let's go inside. I need to talk to you. And NESSEE's crying. Is everything? Did somebody hit you? Mary crying, and she's shaking her head and gesturing, no. And NESSEE nervous. Is Flo alright? Yeah, it's... NESSEE says, what is it, Mary? You're starting to scare me. It's Sandra, isn't it? And Mary gestures, yes. Yes! I don't believe this! I don't believe this! And she's screaming and she's yelling and she's literally distressed. And the neighbors come out and they see her lips, and their lips are saying, what's wrong? You can't hear any sounds other than the somebody wins, somebody dies. They all come over to NESSEE and they hug her. This scene lasts for about 2 to 4 minutes, or 2.4 minutes, excuse me. At VR5, Keith is looking for NESSEE, and Keith says, you're Sammy, right? Sammy says, yeah. Keith says, hey, I've been looking for NESSEE, and Sammy says, NESSEE, she's... Keith says, what's going on? What's wrong? Sammy says her best friend died last night, and they believe it was their sugar daddy. Keith says, is she okay? Sammy says, yeah, but she's taking it kind of hard. Keith says, what's this about a sugar daddy? What are you talking about? You know, a sugar daddy, a trick setter, a pimp. Keith says, you mean Sandra was a prostitute? Sammy says, they all are. Keith says, they who? Sammy says, NESSEE, Sandra. Well, she was. Flo and Mary. Keith says, no. Are you telling me that NESSEE was a hoe? Sammy says excitedly, hey, don't you talk about her like that. She's a lady of the evening. Keith says, can you tell me where I can find her? Sammy says, I don't know if I want to. Keith says, come on, I'm really worried about her. Sammy says, how do I know Henrik didn't send you over here? Keith says, who is Henrik? Sammy says, the one who killed Sandra. Look, I'm worried about NESSEE, and I don't know no Henrik. And if you know where she is, tell me. I want to make sure she's alright. Sammy says, well, I'll tell you what. You meet me here in 30 minutes, and I will go and I'll ask her if it's okay. What is your name? And he says, Keith. Sammy says, okay, Mr. Keith. Excuse me. I'll ask her if Mr. Keith can have her address. Keith says 30 minutes, and tell her I don't care about her past. You'll remember to tell her, won't you? Sammy says, yeah, you don't care. Keith says, I don't care about her past. Sammy says, yeah, that's what I said. Now, with that, let me go, or you're going to have to wait here longer. Sammy has come back, told Keith, and Keith gets the address for NESSEE, and he goes over to NESSEE's home, knocks on the door. Who is it? And Keith says, Keith Brett. And he says, oh, hi, Keith says, what I heard, how are you doing? I was worried about you. NESSEE's crying, I'm sorry. I didn't call you. Keith says, it's all right. I'm just glad you're okay. And he hugs her, and she's still crying. You're not mad at me? Keith says, why would I be mad? Because Sammy told me he told you about... Keith says, look, it's okay. He says, I was gonna tell you that I was... Keith says, that's not an issue. I only care about the sweet person I met last night. The one I could not get off my mind. I'm sorry. You have nothing to be sorry about. What happened? Do you feel like talking about it? Niecy says, come inside. You'll have to excuse the mess and how the place looked. He says, that's okay, I understand. As they both are seated, Niecy says, last night, it was just after you left. Me and Sandra had an argument. I was telling her how I felt about you, and she was mad at me because I said I was gonna change my life and correct the wrongs. Theme song continues. She continues to explain to Keith and what he means to her. The scene picks up 20 minutes later in the conversation. She says, Keith, Keith says, I'm so sorry about what happened to your friend Sandra, but I can guarantee you this, that Henrik will not touch you. So, Niecy says, no, Keith, you can't. He's a dangerous man. He'll kill you. Keith says, look, I am not worried. I will make a visit to a few people who owe me for helping them in the past. You just don't say anything to anybody. And by tomorrow evening, he will have paid his debts to society. He says, Keith, what are you planning on doing? Keith said, I told you, don't worry. He will never bother you again. He will pay for taking a life, I assure you. My people are legal advocates. They will not break any laws, but you will have to trust me. He will be dealt with and will not bother you again. Niecy says, okay, I trust you, but you make sure you don't get in trouble. Keith says, you can be sure, Niecy. Now on Friday, I'd like to take you out and show you a very good time, man. Niecy says, yes, I'm free. Keith says, as he laughs, okay, about 6? She nods, yes. Now, Sammy told me how Henrik looks, and I need to get right on it. Niecy says, you be careful, please, and don't get in trouble. I've never met anyone like you before, and I don't think... No, I know I can't, Keith says. Can't what? Live without you. Keith says, I promise I'll be careful. That you can bet on. Niecy says, are you sure my past doesn't bother you? Keith says, look, all of us make mistakes, and all of our conscience condemns us to the extreme. And he says, I promise that that's behind me. I promise. Keith says, I know you do. Hey, it will be all right. I'll see you tomorrow at 6. And he says, bye, Keith. She walks him to the door, holds his hand, and he holds her hand very tenderly. He says, never bye, always Voldir. Voldir? What does that mean? Keith says, my word that I made up. It means friends forever. I promise I'll explain that to you tomorrow. We're Fade to Black, Act 3, Scene number 4. Late that evening, Henrik comes over to Niecy's house, knocks on the door. Who is it? Henrik says, it's Rick. He says, Rick, I'm busy. Can you come back tomorrow? Henrik says, I just want to make sure you're alright. On account of what somebody did to Sandra and all. He says, I'm fine. Henrik says, well, open up. I want to see for myself. You know how much I care about you. He says, really? I'm really busy, alright? Henrik says, hey, too busy for me? I then went to all this trouble buying you these flowers and waited a while before I came over. I just need to make sure you're alright. Come on, girl. Niecy? Niecy says, okay, one moment. She unlocks the door. He proceeds to step inside. Well, you look okay. Here, these are for you. He hands her the flower. Are you sure you're doing okay? Niecy says, yes, I'm okay. Henrik says, what's this I hear about you leaving and quitting without paying me? He says, I am going to pay you. And No, I'm not going anywhere. Henrik says, well, when do you think you'll be back and able to work? And he says, I Saturday. I'll be back on Saturday. Henrik says, how is it that I see this man around you? And he says, who? That man who was here this morning. He says, there was no man here this. Oh, you mean Keith? Keith is just a friend. What do you mean he's a good friend? And he says, a friend, you know. Henrik says, I don't think it's okay. I don't want to see him around you here or around you again. He says, why? Because I said so. You didn't do anything wrong. Henrik says, as he holds her close to him and she resists. Look, I'm sorry, girl. It's okay. I can take care of him. I got my boys following him right now. He won't be back. No, Rick. No, Rick, I'll tell him, please, Rick. So I take it you'll be back to work tonight, right? Yes. Henry says, what's that? Yes, I'll be back to work tonight. Henry said, that's more like it. Now go and clean yourself up. She walks to the back room. Henrik searches through the living room. So, what's the news on who killed Sandra? NESSEE's speaking from the restroom. I don't know. Nobody's talking. Henrik says, well, do you at least have an idea? NESSEE says, no. I just thought to myself, maybe she's better off. Better off now and well. Henrik says, I thought she was your friend. NESSEE says, no. She was just my work partner. She and I weren't really friends. Henrik places a listening device in the living room under the base of the phone. Well, I'm going. I have to go check on my girls. You make sure that you're there tonight. Yes, Rick, I'll be there. Henrik, that's my girl. Hey, you know, with Sandra no longer here, you now move up. And that means you get an extra $500 a week. How does that sound to you? Rick, why? I don't need no more money. Henrik says, NESSEE, you owe me. And that means you have to pay me. So don't turn down no money. My money. I'm sorry, Rick. I know better. Well, I gotta go. I'll see you later. Bye, Rick. Bye-bye. NESSEE rushes over to the phone and she pages and phones Keith, and she begins panically worried, biting her nails and crying. Come on, please pick up the phone. Please call back. The phone rings. Keith says, hello? Hey, is everything all right? NESSEE says, they're going to try to kill you. He knows who you are. He knows. He knows where you live, and he's going to kill you. You have to go. Keith says, calm down. Calm down. Now, who's going to kill me? Henrik, he's going to. Keith says, did he frighten you? Did he threaten you? And he says, yes, but he says he's going to kill you. Keith says, you don't worry about me. I am more concerned about you. The scene of Henrik in the car listening to the conversation. Where's he now? And he says, he left. He thinks I still work for him, and he expects me to be there tonight. Keith says, she says to Keith, I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm so sick and tired of that business. I want to live a normal life, but I want to do. But he won't let me. Keith says, why? Don't worry. Trust me. You don't owe him anything. Or do you owe him anything? And he says, yes. Keith says, how much is it you owe him? $24,000. He said, $24,000? She said, yes. What's the interest? I don't know, but it's high. I will never be able to pay him all of that. Keith says, look, call, excuse me, I'll be there soon. You just go and lock all the doors, and I'm on my way. And he says, look, okay, but what do I do if he shows up? Keith says, stall him till I get there and dial 911. Then call me on my cell phone and know that I'm on my way. He says, I will see you soon. They both hang up. NESSEE looks out the window and she sees Henrik parking his car across the street. And she dials Keith's cell phone number. Keith says, hello? He's right outside with 3 other men. They all have guns. Keith says, hang up now and call the police. But I'm scared, Keith. Keith says, don't worry. Look, I am on my way, and like I said, he will never bother you again. He says, I don't know what to do. Keith says, listen to me. Listen very, very carefully. Hang up and dial 911. Tell the police that someone has been shot in the house and that you need help, and don't answer any of their questions. Just hang up. Okay? He says, okay. Keith says, NESSEE, do it now. And he says, okay. She hangs up the phone, she dials 911 and hears a knock on the front door. 911 emergency. State the emergency and the nature of your emergency. Henrik hears a knock on the door. Somebody's been shot and I think they're dying. And she hangs up the phone. Just a minute. Walks over to the door with the phone in her hand, and the phone rings. She's frightened by the ringing of the phone. I have a call coming in. Please be patient. I'll be right there. Hello? This is the San Dominion police. Yes. Excuse me. He says, yes. This is the San Dominion Police Department. Is there an emergency situation? He says, yes. 4 men return to break into my house, and I know they have guns. San Dominion Police says, what is their description, ma'am? I can't talk. Please hurry, please. I gotta go. The police says, ma'am, please don't hang up. I gotta go. Please hurry up. Please. And she hangs up. Henrik yells, NESSEE, open this door. He says, hey, Henrik, I'm getting dressed. I'm trying to get ready for work. I'll be right there. No, now. Open up now. NESSEE says, Henrik, you're starting to scare me. That's not all I'm going to scare out of you. If you don't come and open this door. Now, girl. NESSEE comes to the door. She opens, she hesitates, but she says, Henrik, I'm almost ready. He's attempting to break down the door, and the others are going up the stairs and to the side of the house, around to the second story and the back door. When I get my hands on you, I'm going to do worse to you than I did to Sandra. You did that to Sandra, but why? She did not do anything to nobody. Henrik says, that's none of your business. I done told you to open the door. I'm not going to tell you anymore. The phone rings and she jumps again and and she says, hello? And Keith says, is that him outside the door? And he says, yeah, it's Keith, and I'm scared. He did kill Sandra. Oh, and there's one upstairs and the other one's behind at the back door. What am I gonna do? Henrik finally breaks into the door. Who are you talking to? Grabs the phone, rushes and pushes her down as she screams, shut up! He hits her in the face with the base of the phone. Who's this? I said, who's this? Keith said, this is uncalled Federal Agent Keith Brett. And if you look outside, you will see. You will not be walking out of there alive. That I will promise you. You had, Henrik says, The others are getting into the house. Who do you think you are? And who? Man, do you know who I am? Hold on. His men are trying to talk to him. What? And they say, they're everywhere. Police in trees? On... See, it's supposed to be on roofs. In trees, on roofs, and... Henrik says, I know. Don't you see that I can see the very same things you see? Just go upstairs and watch upstairs and at the back door while I take care of this. Now move! He's back on the phone. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah. Do you know who I am? I run this city. And if I walk out of that door, none of the San Dominion Police Department will ever lay a hand on me. Keith says, I know. That's why I'm here. Look around. None of the officers here are from San Dominion Police Department. Go ahead. Take a look out the front door. Henry looks outside cautiously. There's a gunshot that just misses his head. What? Are you people crazy? I will kill her. And I will put a cap in her right now. Right in her head right now. No. You don't know who you're with. Your little girlfriend is about to die. Keith said, girlfriend? Son, I was using her to get to you. And as far as I'm concerned, she's one of you. And you're claiming she's a hostage? I'll tell you what. All of the evidence I have against you, and the pictures and the tapes, and remove the bug from the bottom of the base of that phone. He says, and remove the bug from the bottom of the base phone. He looks at the phone. Yep, I know about the phone. Son, all of this was by design. You've been played. I've been playing you all of this time just to get all of you in one place, in the same place. This way, there'll be no loss of civilian lives. Yes, you got played, and you didn't even see it coming. In a way, I'm surprised that you made it this long. Henrik hangs up the phone, and he throws it against the wall. I don't believe this! Speaking to NESSEE. Your little boyfriend is a narc, an undercover cop. And he said that he used you to get to me. Probably this. And he hears the voice of Keith on the loudspeaker. Keith says, hey, Henrik, why'd you hang up? I mean, I was just getting started to tell you about how dumb you really are. You got your men positioned in the wrong places. With 1 minute. R1, R21, eliminate target. They hear a gunshot. They hear 2 gunshots come into the house, and then a 3rd gunshot. Well, you have no cover. Check and see. I'll wait. They just took out Henrik's men. Henrik, hey, Danny! Yo, Gary! Hey, Tommy! Hey, guys! Keith says, oops! Nobody answered. What are you ever gonna do now? You kill the girl, you'll die. A very slow, and I promise you, a very painful death. You have 2 minutes to decide. There will be no further talk. In 1 minute, 45 seconds, my men will storm the house. 1 minute, 15 seconds. Henrik, time is running out. Oh, look, 53 seconds. Here's him yelling. All right, man. But how do I know when I come out you won't shoot me? Keith says, you don't? Henrik says, okay, I'm on my way out. And they hear a gunshot. All right, I'm unarmed. He tells them, move in now, And they all rush in. R3, pop him in the stomach. He shoots Henrik in the stomach and he falls to the ground. R1, report. R1 says, sir, the girl is dead. No! Not NESSEE. No. All right. Get me an ambulance at once. From Denver. R17 says, hey, but sir, that's 3,400 miles away. It will take days to get here. Giving a commanding look. You heard me. Contacting Denver, sir. Henrik says, "You punk! You may not believe this, but I won." Keith says, "No, I'm sorry you haven't." He shoots him in the groin. "Oops, my safety wasn't set. I guess you won't be fathering any kids from now on, will you?" "Oh, you'll survive. No, don't worry about that. You will survive. But like I said, in a lot of pain." Dit, talking to his men, "Get him out of here and make sure it's a long time before his stomach heals. Take him to Tracker." Fade to black. Scene number 5. Keith is just outside the federal building of torture called Tracker, where criminals are punished by way of imprisonment. Keith just arrived, speaking to the men. "Go on in, I'll be there in a moment." Holding Nessee's picture in his hand, he says, "I'm so sorry, my love. I'm so sorry. But promise you, for the next 40 years he will pay. On this day, I do say goodbye. The star of my world has since grown dim. I hope your death was not without good reason. But he will pay. I promise you he will pay." This R-17 says, "Sir, we made sure that he will never forget what he's done, and he will be in pain for a long, long time. We have also done the things that you have told us to do." There are pictures of Mrs. James throughout the room, and of you flashing before his eyes every single day. He is shocked every time he falls asleep, and acid is dropped little by little onto his open wounds. The doctor said that he will be like this for at least the next 41 years. He will be allowed 8 hours of sleep every 17th day, and on the 18th day it will start all over again. I assure you he will not forget." Keith says, "For Nessee's sake, I hope you're right. Somebody wins, somebody dies. That's the way life goes." Plays in the background with scenes of Henrik being tortured and Nessee smiling, and scenes as you see in the room where individuals are being tortured in various ways and monitored by monitoring equipment. And the last scene you see is Henrik's stomach wound still open and him screaming the name Nessee, Nessee, Nessee. Okay, that is the story, Nessee. And although I would love to explain much more about this story, I think it says everything it needs to say. So ladies and gentlemen, this story presented to you by the publisher, and this is going to be one of the main stories that I produce, either in animation or in live drama. But one way or another, this story will be produced. Well, hear it again. Here it is again by the publisher. Have a good day.